It's time for the Inside Pitch, the official off-season radio show of your Winnipeg Goldeyes. On the home of the Goldeyes, 93.7 CJNU.
Good evening and welcome back to the Inside Pitch here on CJNU 93.7 FM. Trevor Curl here inside the Visitors Clubhouse back at Blue Cross Park. We're getting set. The home clubhouse is getting ready to roll for the players to show up for spring camp, which is just a mere few weeks away. But in tonight's episode, we've got a good one. Logan Watkins and right-handed pitcher James Bradwell join the broadcast, and we have a fun and exciting couple of interviews to show you here on the new Inside Pitch. Well, first, let's just get things rolling right off the gate. We had a lot of fun last week teasing our alternate identity for the July 31st game against the Lincoln Salt Dogs. That is no rumor. That is, in fact, true. For one game only in 2026, the Goldeyes will transform from the friendly fish of the rivers to the annoying pests that you see in your summer hideaways. The Manitoba Mosquitoes will take the field on Friday, July 31st at 7 o'clock. Tickets are on sale for that game. Speaking of which, those single game tickets are on sale as we speak. That's right, you can buy all of your individual tickets at goldeyes.com. Also, throw on a mini pack as well while you're at it. Come on out to as many games as possible inside of Blue Cross Park. Want to enjoy from the luxury Sky Suites? Well, now you can. So instead of having to book a full suite for a full party, a bachelorette, bachelor party, of course you can still do that. Saturdays and Sundays, you can now get your own individual Sky Suite ticket and enjoy the game from high above the playing field. With a brand new luxury flooring and an exceptional experience that you can only get inside the Sky Suites, come on down to Blue Cross Park and go get yourself a luxury experience high in the sky. Of course, more information for that will be at goldeyes.com. We have some new signings to talk about as well on tonight's program. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But we start with left-handed pitcher Ryo Kawagashi joining the 2026 Fish roster. Left-hander who is pitching in the Frontier League just earlier on. Teammates with James Bradwell back in Quebec, so it'll be fun to talk with James in just a little bit about that. Eli Saul joins the bullpen as well, hard-throwing right-hander, one of the very few right-handers that the Goldeyes will have in their bullpen. Adam Hall has also been re-signed this year for the Goldeyes after departing in 2024, playing with the Milwaukee Brewers organization. Adam Hall comes back to Winnipeg and joins the Goldeyes, hopefully for a strong 2026 campaign. In another signing, James Collier has once again rejoined the ball club after departing earlier in the offseason to pitch for the Washington Nationals in spring training. Collier was released by Washington, and the Goldeyes have officially re-signed him to join the roster. And in a corresponding move of that, Ben Kowalski was sent over to the Kane County Cougars in a trade for a player to be named later. So that is your announcements for the 2026 season. We have a great episode tonight. Right-handed pitcher James Bradwell joins us alongside with Logan Watkins, so let's get right into it. Here is the skipper, Logan Watkins. Welcome you back to the Inside Pitch here on CJNU, rejoined by skipper Logan Watkins on a April 1st day. Logan, how's your April Fool's going so far?
It's going pretty good. Other than the league trying to fool us on banana balls coming to the league, I haven't really been pranked too hard so far yet today, and hopefully it stays that way.
Well, the kids are not back from school yet, so is that probably going to change around 4 o'clock or so?
It could. I've got my guard up, that's for sure.
So here's an interesting thing about the April Fools this year. We just announced the Manitoba Mosquitoes have been officially announced as our alternate identity for the game on July 31st. So take us through what your first initial thought was when you saw the new team name for just one game only.
I thought it was a joke. I thought it was April Fool's all over again, but if indeed it is real and they just posted like what the jerseys and stuff are going to look like, it actually looks pretty cool. In my time in Manitoba, I haven't noticed a bunch of mosquitoes around, maybe a long time ago, or maybe the province is known for its mosquitoes. I don't really know the relevance, but if that's what our alternative identity is going to be for a day, and then I think I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, so usually they don't have them that bad in the city, but if you go out, go out on the lakes, go out on the golf courses that are way outside the city, I've heard that they're absolutely relentless.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. In the spirit of April Fools, can you take us through one prank that was either you pulled on a player or a player pulled on you in your time in professional baseball?
Um, well, it wasn't April Fool's Day, and at the risk of sounding like a name dropper or someone somewhat arrogant, when I was in the big leagues, we were on the team bus. We had got to San Diego on the road, and I had left my room key. We got landed at the airport. Normally, we get on the team bus, we drive to the hotel. Our traveling secretary normally will come through and hand everyone their room keys in an envelope. He handed me mine. I ended up, we got to the hotel, ended up getting up, going inside. I look around, I realize, oh dang, I don't know where my room key is. I can't find that envelope. So I go to the front desk, get a new room key, go up to my room, and I don't know if I had left it in my seat on the bus or if Anthony Rizzo and a couple of those other guys had taken my key just when I wasn't looking, but they had gone up before me into the hotel room and just absolutely destroyed it. I mean, buckets of water leaned up against doors, so every door you opened, buckets were falling over. So I think that's the one that maybe comes to mind. I don't think that was on April Fool's, but you got to tip your hat when you get a prank like that, I guess.
Oh, you're a rookie too, so there's not really much you can do about that on the latter side. Because I know, was it Rizzo was like around the same age as you too, wasn't he?
Yeah. Hmm.
So is that kind of weird? What's like you're still having rookie status, but this guy's considered a veteran and he's as old as you are, and he's like, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, but I mean, at the time, he was the man in Chicago until Chris Bryant showed up and Javi Baez came right behind him. And Rizzo was by far the most popular player on the team at the time. And him and Jeff Samardzija, Jake Arrieta, I guess. Those guys were all kind of like the leaders of the clubhouse, if you will. So Rizzo was, yeah, definitely on the younger side, but he was kind of the man. So what could I do other than just take my lumps and laugh and think it's funny when it's not really all that funny because my bed was ripped apart. But I got no say in the matter. I just, if anything, I should have gone down to the front desk and complained that my room was not cleaned or something. You know what I mean? Put it on the cleaning staff. But I think I just kind of made do with it. I was in San Diego at a big league hotel, so I'll figure it out.
Yeah, there could be worse things in the world for sure. So, first of all, it's great to see you again, obviously, after a couple of weeks away. We got some new signings we'll get through. But first, in the spirit of Baseball Champions League wrapping up a week ago, as we are recording this a week prior to the show date, what'd you think of the 2026 Baseball Champions League tournament that was down in Mexico City?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, congratulations to those guys, George, and George did a great job managing a team. It's not always easy, similar to like the World Baseball Classic when you have a bunch of guys that are, really good players, trying to keep everybody happy, make sure everyone gets, the playing time they deserve and things like that. That's not an easy job. And sometimes it's not really fun to have to be the guy that's making those tough decisions. But secondly, I was really, proud of how Derek Cherry and Max Murphy showed out for our organization. I thought Murphy looked really good. Of course, Max Murphy in high elevation is a pretty dangerous hitter, so I'm glad to see he got into a few balls. And then I thought Cherry did a great job holding his own for a younger guy, and he looks like he's throwing hard and going to be ready for this season.
Yeah, I talked about it a lot on the broadcast down there about how the elevation plays. You obviously have played down there when you were in the LMB, so what was your experience like playing in that ballpark in Mexico City?
I remember it was a lot of fun to take BP there. Because I wasn't much of a home run hitter, but in that park you are. And I remember the atmosphere being cool. That stadium's pretty much a big league stadium. It was really loud. I could hear the speaker when you guys were there. The bum 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 bum, like all that noise, like that brought me back to Mexico and playing there, and just how loud they play the music and how it's kind of annoying music, but kind of catchy at the same time. Like it kind of gets stuck in your head for weeks. Um, Really fun league though. Had a great time, and Mexico City was one of my favorite places to go play for sure. The amount of people and the traffic there is unbelievable. But other than that, really cool place. And I'm hoping I haven't talked to Murphy or Cherry directly yet, but I'm hoping they had a good experience. As I know you said you did. So hopefully everyone that went down there, apart from just winning the entire tournament, hopefully everyone had a good trip and good experience.
Yeah, no, I sat with Max on the flight back from Minneapolis to Winnipeg, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Those guys certainly enjoyed themselves. Obviously, Cherry pitched very well. Max hit the ball well. Yeah, that was kind of just something I talked about with him prior to the tournament. Was just you got to put the ball in play. If your swing's feeling good, you can run to a couple of balls pretty easily, especially for him. But even if you're not really feeling it, like a home run that day, or just your swing a little on top of it, you can still get base hits on ground balls, which we saw from Max a couple of times. So really good to see the two Goldeyes showing out there in the Devil's Playground. We got some player signings to talk about, and a couple of these guys again, maybe not so much surprising signings, but also a couple of interesting ones. Again, we're going back into the bullpen from the left-hand side. Ryo Kawagashi just recently signed his contract, a 28-year-old left-handed reliever from Japan. I don't know very much about him. Derek Cherry talked about him when I was down in Mexico very briefly. I guess some of the guys on the BCL roster said they played against him. But take us through what you saw from Kawagashi and why he's in a Goldeye uniform.
Yeah. So actually, wasn't wasn't really pursuing hard for more pitching. He had reached out to me, and I had noticed he had been with Quebec the last few years. So I messaged the manager in Quebec and said, "Hey, this guy messaged me. I'm not sure what his situation is as far as who has his rights, if I'm even allowed to sign him if I want." And their manager got back to me and said that he promised him he wants to play in a little bit older league, a little more competition, and he promised he would get him over to a team in the American Association. And thankfully, he's coming to Winnipeg because. I mean, apart from what you see on his baseball reference page, I've seen video of him and shorter guy, but it's got really good stuff. I've seen him low 90s lefty, really good tall curveball. I've talked to people that have managed against him, uh, played against him. I know Landon Barassa saw him in Australia this winter. And then randomly, I'm not even sure how, but Rob Emery had played with him before and was like one of his good friends. I guess they played in New Zealand or something. Rob always seems to know everybody
Yeah,
somehow.
just about to say, Rob knows pretty much anybody you've signed so far at this point.
Right, yeah. And everyone I talked to that knows him or seen him play just said this guy is really, really good. And like I said, we weren't trying to sign another pitcher, but when some guys, show up on your doorstep and they're too good to turn away, you just got to make the right move for the organization, and making sure he played for Winnipeg this year was the right move.
How do guys like that just fall in your lap? Is it just the connections you make as a manager, or is it just by fortune that someone like Kawagashi is just available and you were the first one on him?
I mean, I'll take some credit with the fact that I've been pretty good at developing pretty good relationships with other managers, and so like Pat Scalabrini in Quebec, if me and him weren't very good friends or we didn't like each other for whatever reason, he probably wouldn't have, allowed him to come over to Winnipeg, right? We tend to if we're not going to have a good player, we'd rather have them go play for someone that we like, and that's another good situation. So, yeah, I think it's important for myself to maintain good relationships with other managers, and not only in our league but in other leagues. And then there's also the element of we're a Canadian organization. We have different immigration requirements. A guy from Japan doesn't need a visa. It's similar to like Ray Patrick Ditter and Trump and those guys that they need whatever it's called. I leave this to Andrew typically in the front office, but they need like an ETSA or ETSA or whatever it is. They need some kind of paperwork that I guess is pretty easy to get, and that's not necessarily the case in the United States. And so we kind of reap the benefits of some of those guys like that.
Kind of a sidebar question on that. How much of an adjustment was that to learning the international, maybe not learning the international rules, but the signings of international guys like Ditter and Dason and Trump? And what is that like doing that from the Canadian perspective rather than when you were in Cleburne on the U.S. side of things?
Well, the best part about it is that I have Andrew in the front office who's been doing this for a really long time, and he knows how to get answers on everything. And he's had experience dealing with players from all over the world, so he kind of knows the ins and outs of what they have to have, how much time we need to get them whatever documentation they need to play for us. So a lot of times, if a player like that pops up on my radar, I just check with Andrew. I was like, "Hey, is it possible we can get this guy? Will there be any complications?" And he normally will give me his best educated answer and then double check with someone that knows for sure. And so that's kind of what happened there. In the States, when I was managing in Cleburne, we fell victim a couple years in a row of trying to get visas for Venezuelan and Dominican guys that ended up taking way too long and then not showing up, for a while into the season. And so I've kind of, even in Canada, I've kind of tried to steer away from that just because I don't want to leave that to chance anymore. But again, though, if there's a really good player and he's regardless of where he's from and he wants to be a Winnipeg Goldeye, it's I'm not doing my job if I don't at least make sure it's not possible. So.
Well, one of those guys who really wants to be a Winnipeg Goldeye is coming back to the Fish after only being in Winnipeg for what, 6 games in the 2024 season? Yeah, 6 games, batted 526, OPS above 1.4. This guy was unreal for about a week, and then we shipped him off to the Milwaukee Brewers organization, and we're getting Adam Hall back, signed the dotted line. Again, another great signing to have back in a Goldeye uniform, Team Canada World Baseball Classic roster 2026. Again, no brainer, but take us through why Adam Hall is a Winnipeg Goldeye again and how important he is to maybe get him for a full season.
Uh, well, another Canadian guy, obviously, so that's obviously hopefully going to make our fans really happy. We had him a couple years ago, and he couldn't have got off to a hotter start. Biggest thing with him has just been staying healthy. Even with us, he was battling some injuries, and then I think he went to affiliated ball and still was kind of battling injuries. But when healthy, could very easily be the best player in this league. He's got that kind of impact on a game. He can play infield, he can play outfield. He's going to steal bases. Um, his time back in affiliated ball, we didn't really see him hit a bunch of balls over the fence, but I in my personal opinion, and I'm sure anyone that saw him play in Winnipeg, he looks like he had plenty of pop. So I think he brings that element to this, and he's going to hit doubles, triples. I mean, he's going to be really good. Biggest key for us, I guess, is just keeping him healthy. And um, if we lose him again back to affiliated ball, great. I mean, that's where he probably should be anyways. I think a lot of times guys like that, organizations just want to see them stay healthy for a while, and so I think that's probably one thing he's for sure focused on. And I know that we're going to do everything we can to keep him healthy, and hopefully it's a win-win situation for him and for us. He can prove he's healthy. He can prove that how good of a player he is, and get picked back up. And up until that point, he'll help us win games. So.
So where do you see him then fit into the lineup card? Because last time he was here, he was solidified as the leadoff batter, and then Dason Cruz followed him up. This year, it looks like you'll have Ramon Bramasco, who was your leadoff guy last year. You could slide him into the 2 spot. So where do you see Adam fitting in the lineup card sitting here in April?
Uh, I mean, near the top, probably one, two, or three. And only reason I say three is because, like you said, Ramon Bramasco is a really good profile guy to hit one or two, constantly on base. But I also I want to see Noah Marcelo in person and just kind of see if his bat is going to play to where it looks more like a one-hole hitter or a nine-hole hitter. I think that's probably it's going to be one or the other for him, which might determine where we slide in Adam Hall. But I do know uh, Adam Hall and Noah Marcelo. Granted that they get on base at a high clip, there'll be tears on the base pass as far as not only stretching singles into doubles, doubles into triples, but putting a lot of pressure on opposing pitching staffs by being a threat to steal bases. So we'll kind of let it all play itself out, but I would be I feel comfortable saying Ramon Bramasco is probably your one or two hole hitter, but and Ramon will laugh when he hears this. Ramon's also pretty slow, and so if I put him in the one hole and Marcelo or Adam Hall's right behind him, and then they can't steal a base because Ramon's slow butt is right in front of him, that could be a problem. So maybe we'll kind of let that play out. But Ramon is actually still a pretty savvy base runner still, and he might sneak a few bags every once in a while. But I'm sure the fans have seen it a few times. Sometimes he sells out and leaves about 2 seconds too early to make sure he gets there. But he also told me at the end of last year he's planning on losing some weight and being a really good shortstop. So maybe he's going to be one of our speed guys this year. I don't know. It'll play itself out though.
Well, the dude swiped 20 bags. He was only caught twice. So, Ramon, I still think you're fast, but your manager kind of has last say, so I can't really fight him on that one. Speaking of which, we're talking with manager Logan Watkins here on the Inside Pitch. Let's then kind of sidebar before we talk about our third signee going into tomorrow. I want to ask about the power because it doesn't look like this roster is going to run into a ton of home runs compared to last year's ball club. I could be completely wrong, of course. But it looks like you're adding more small ball elements, at least speed wise, guys who will, by power, I mean hitting it over the wall. Doubles are still in that OPS category. So is that kind of where your lineup card's looking right now? It's going to be more double heavy, clearing bases in the ballpark instead of running them over the fence.
I mean, as it sits today, I think that's fair. For those that don't know, Bryce Arnold, who we had signed, that ended up getting picked up by the Guardians, he got released, and I think he's kind of on the fence on if he wants to play or coach. So if we get him back, I mean, he's a smaller guy, but he's got sneaky pop. I think he hit 10 homers last year in affiliated ball or something like that. And then also still on the fence is Matt Workington, who I'm sure plenty of fans and stuff have questions on if he's going to be back. And um, you know, it's not an easy answer. He married an American girl, and he's got to do some kind of, I don't know, green card paperwork. I don't know. He's tried to tell me about it, and I just say, all right, just let me know when it goes through, man. So he's kind of just sitting and waiting right now, and he has no idea his timeline if that kind of stuff will process. So you get those two guys back, you feel pretty good about the power in your lineup. If you don't, then yeah, we're probably going to be more of a contact oriented approach team. And I still think there's some guys, like I said, I think Adam Hall's got more pop than most people like to say. I think Max Murphy's going to be Max Murphy. I think Giandito Trump's got pop. I think Ray Patrick Ditter's got pop. I think he's gonna have a better year than last year. I feel confident saying that, and probably run into 10 to 15 homers this year, I would guess. And then I think TJ Schofield Sam is gonna put some balls over the fence as well. So there'll still be some guys that hit the ball over the fence and have some pop, but I also think just looking at what we kind of struggled with last season, it was having clutch hitters come through with, even if it's a single with a guy in scoring position, was where our offense didn't get the job done last year. Where we didn't need homers in a lot of those situations. We needed a base hit somewhere, and we would have scored a run or two more every game than we would have. So hopefully we have guys that maybe are more, like I said, contact oriented approach, hit for a little bit better average. Hopefully have some clutch in them, and yeah. But every year is kind of different, and it kind of never really ends up being what you think in the off season. You show up and everyone's a little bit different than maybe you kind of realize. So who knows what kind of a lineup this is going to be? But if you look at it on paper, you're probably right now. Probably not quite as many homers, but hopefully more of a line drive oriented team. And then I will also say a joke. The guy that was just on your last episode, Kevin Garcia, thinks he hits homers, but he doesn't. So hopefully he's just hitting the ball in the gap and driving in runs. And he only hits homers in Gary. So when we go to Gary, he can swing for the fence. But other than that,
Yeah. So how does I'll talk with Donnie at some point, but what does he think about the lineup so far, or at least the hitter signings that you've brought in?
he was excited when he saw we re-signed Adam Hall. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, we haven't really, me, him, and Brew. I mean, we keep in touch throughout the off season, but we haven't really dove into what the current roster looks like yet. Just because you know how it is. It changes. We're still there can be changes this offseason. There can be guys like Bryce Arnold who get picked up, and we may not see him back. You know what I mean? So it's you're writing in your projected lineup in pencil. You know what I mean? It's not in pen. So there's a lot that can change. And again, we don't all we really know is mostly me. It's based on what people told me, what I see with their numbers, what I've seen on video. Um, but a lot of these guys you haven't seen in a Goldeye uniform yet playing this league, and so um, some guys roll right out of college and jump into this league and hold their own, do really well. Some guys have big league time or triple A, double A time come to this league and they don't do very well. So a lot of it's who knows. We got to wait till we see it.
We'll keep things moving along. We'll go to a very recent signing, which, as of today, when we're recording, hasn't been announced. It's going to be announced on, I believe, April the 2nd. But Eli Saul out of Vancouver, British Columbia, former Arizona Diamondback organization guy, was double drafted once out of high school and then 13th round in 2022 out of California State University. He's young at the age of 24. He's going into his age 25 season. Last year, he was in Class High A Hillsboro and Class Double A Amarillo. So take us through what you saw out of Saw. I didn't mean to do that, and what you like out of him in the bullpen.
Um, yeah, I mean another Canadian guy, which is always awesome. But just talking to people that I trust, and one of the main guys I talk to within the Diamondbacks organization, he let me know like what their reports were on him, and they like him a lot. His biggest thing's going to be just command, being consistent. If you look at his numbers, his walks were up a little bit last year for sure. Strikeouts were good though, and if you watch video of him throw, you can tell he's got a really good arm. He's got really good stuff. And a lot of times, those guys that have really good stuff, it's a little bit harder to command it. Some of their stuff's moving quite a bit. So a lot of times that has something to do with it. But definitely will be a power arm for us. Like you said, he's young. Love that, and I'm excited. Hopefully, all these pitchers, hopefully they show up and they're willing to listen to what Brew has to say because all these guys must have some sort of flaw, right? Like that's otherwise they'd be in affiliated ball or the big leagues. Like everyone's got something they need to get better at, something they need to work on, something that they need to prove that they've changed or they're doing better than they did last year. And thankfully, we have a pitching coach that can help them bridge that gap, whatever their deficiency is. Brew has done this for a long time, so hopefully these guys show up. They're ready. They're coachable. They're in shape. And we can get some of these guys who, like I said, this Saul for whatever reason, command was a little bit not his strength last year. Maybe Brew can get in there and work with him, and we can get him on track. And he's probably another guy, like you said, he's young. He's got a really good arm. If he does fix his command issues and shows up with us, he may not be with us very long. He's the kind of guy that profiles to still get picked up just based on his age and his experience already.
I have to clarify California State University, Sacramento. A little different. It's Sacramento State, so it's a little different than CSU, which is down in Southern California. But what's the difference between hitting at high A versus double A? Because the numbers are not too different, but there definitely is a jump on the ERA going from high A to double A, especially in that walks department, as you mentioned.
I mean, it just depends. I know he pitched in Amarillo. I've never played there. Could be an elevation thing. Could be any number of things. When you go to Double A, you're facing better hitters that have better at bats that maybe you don't swing and miss at pitches out of the zone nearly as much. You know what I mean? So like the type of baseball changes a little bit. You start facing experienced hitters that force you to bring your secondary stuff into the zone. And if you can't do that consistently, your numbers could take a hit. So um, again, like I said, the video I've seen of him, you can tell the stuff's there. So we just got to get it corralled, and he's going to be a good addition for us. And um, I like uh, I like being able to bring on Canadian guys, obviously, because our fans tend to have a lot of pride in the Canadian guys on this roster, and the Canadian guys on our roster tend to have a lot of pride in playing for a team in their home country. So I'm excited to add another one.
In another move earlier, you traded Ben Kowalski to the Kane County Cougars. So take us through why that move needed to happen.
Yeah, so it's kind of just a numbers thing. So we're going to get James Collier back, who we had signed early in the offseason, who got picked up by the Nationals. He ended up not breaking with the team out of spring training with the Nationals and getting released. And so he came back. And then we signed Rio, like I said, from Quebec. And then Eli Saul became available. So we added three pitchers, and we were already probably at 13, I think it was, 12 or 13. And so we jump all the way up to 15 arms, which not realistic. We're going to be able to carry 15, 16 arms. So started kind of just checking around, see who we could move, who made sense to maybe go somewhere else. And Kowalski did really well for himself last year. I think kind of came out of nowhere, established his name, proved he can pitch in our league, proved he went down to Mexico and held his own for the most part down there. And this is a guy that was playing in the Pecos League 2 years ago. Awesome for him. It was kind of looking like it was going to shape up like he was maybe not going to be in our starting rotation, and I know he wanted to start. Um, and King County had a need for two more starters, and I know George. I've got a good trade relationship with George, and I'm expecting him to send us a pretty good player. Hopefully, maybe around the All Star break or so, and we can fill a void there. Maybe make our team better for the final push of the season. But yeah, I mean that's the way this business is. Sometimes you can't turn away certain players that, like I said, that show up on your doorstep, and then you got to make a tough decision. It wasn't because Ben wasn't good enough to pitch for us, that's for sure. He already proved he was. It was just kind of the right fit. Sending him to King County, where he's from, like 30, 45 minutes away from there. So I think that was a good option for him and for us.
We'll wrap up the episode with just a little bit of talk going forward because I just sent you a picture of the ballpark and the snow slowly is starting to melt. I just got back, like I said, from Mexico City and it's about 75 degrees there, so a bit of a difference coming back here where it was snowing when I got back, but otherwise slowly getting there. Going forward, how much more room is there on the roster to just keep building? Is there still like a need that you're like saying this is kind of a priority at the moment? Or again, I know you like saying the best player comes around, we'll pick him up.
Yeah, I mean that's always the case. I don't really like making a ton of trades and stuff though before the season's even started. So again, already had to do that once. But at the same time, I'm not doing my job if I'm not at least checking to see guys getting released from affiliated ball and stuff like that. And if there's an opportunity to make our team better, I need to do it. We're gonna definitely add one more position player. I think we're at 10 right now, and so I want to have at least 11. Probably as the season goes along, maybe get to 12. But probably start the season with 11 and probably start the season with 15 pitchers, which will put us at 26. We're allowed to have up to 27 or 28 or something like that for the first 10 days of the season um, before we have to cut it down to 25. And, no idea exactly, if we do have to trim by one player, no idea yet who that would be. I mean, things like that tend to play themselves out. I mean, we've already seen it. Guys get picked up before the season even starts. We could lose a pitcher before we even get to spring training, so, and then we don't need to make any moves. But um, we'll probably, like I said, let it ride itself out, and what's going to happen is going to happen. I'm pretty confident in the guys that we've signed. I'm hoping, not that I want to bring up last year too much. I'm hoping we stay healthier going into spring training than we did last year, and during spring training. Not that I don't even think we did anything wrong last year. It's just a series of bad luck. We weren't working guys overtime in spring training. We weren't having guys throwing a ton of pitches. It was just bad luck. But hopefully this year, like I said, we stay healthier, and the roster's pretty much done. Probably add one more guy if I had to guess.
And we're gonna wrap this one up by talking about the player who's gonna be on this episode with you for the inside pitch, James Bradwell. So this will be my first actual interview with him in the off season. Take me through again how you were able to pick him up and then what you saw from him in his short stint in what your expectation is for him in the 2026 year.
Yeah, this one would go to an assist to Landon Barassa, who had known him previously and knew that he was in Quebec in 2024, went 12-0 with Quebec, had a great year. And then I believe, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, if you even know, I think he was with Staten Island and they were waiting to get his visa or his paperwork. And it was, like I said, kind of similar situation I would have in Cleburne, where you're just kind of sitting there waiting and you don't know and you don't have any answers. And so I think Staten Island was sitting there waiting on James for a while. And I think James was pretty anxious to pitch. He might have even been thrown in like a collegiate league up there in Canada, just to keep himself in shape. And I think Staten Island finally just said, you know, I'm over it. We can't wait any longer. We don't want to do this to James either. So they let him go, and then thankfully we ended up signing him towards the middle of the year. And maybe one of my favorite pickups we had last year. Just you could tell for a young guy, he just knows what he's doing. He's just there's a maturity about him on the mound. He's emotionless. He just goes about his business. On top of having really good stuff, he threw the first ever time I've ever seen a no hitter that didn't result in a win. But yeah, that's for sure what he's capable of, and not to mention that was against Sioux Falls, which had by far probably the best offensive lineup in the league last year, and that's what he did to that lineup. So obviously super impressive. Unfortunately, the start after that one in Sioux Falls, he injured his arm. I had to shut him down for the rest of the year. Was used to it by that point last year. It felt like everyone was getting hurt at some point. So I know James went home, and I think his main focus this offseason is getting himself, completely healthy, ready to go for opening day. He's been keeping me updated. I know he's supposed to be keeping Griffin updated as well. Hopefully he is. And if he's listening to this, make sure you're checking in with Griffin, James. But hopefully he's on schedule and he should be ready for the first series of the season. And even if we need, to kind of limit him at the beginning, like I said, we're going to have 15 arms probably, so we can have someone probably piggyback behind him if needed, if he's not quite built up yet. But super excited. He's going to be awesome for us this year. And like I said, biggest thing is just keeping these guys healthy, and he's one of them that we really need to stay healthy for us.
James Bradwell coming up next on the Inside Pitch. Logan Watkins, thank you for stopping on by. Goldeyes open up the 2026 season on the road Friday, May 15th against Milwaukee, but the home opener slated for the King County Cougars on Tuesday, May 19th at 6:30. Logan, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
We welcome you back to the Inside Pitch here on CJNU. We're joined with James Bradwell, right-handed pitcher, returning for his hopefully first full season with the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Pitched a little bit at the end of 2025. James, how's the offseason been rolling so far up in the what is it considered for you guys out in Vancouver? Is that the Southern Pacific Southwest? Because in the US it's the Pacific Northwest.
I think we still call it the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, things are good. it's been a bit of a struggle coming off of the injury of last season. That's always going to impact how your offseason build-up's going to look. Um, so there's been some ups and downs in that, but overall, I'm still really excited to get this thing going and report here in a couple weeks.
So what was the process like? So we'll kind of start from the back and then work back to when you first joined the Goldeyes. Was that like going from season ends in an injury to I don't really know exactly what my plan is if I want to keep going for the next season to you make the decision and now it's the road for rehab?
Yeah. First things first was mostly the medical diagnosis, just kind of figuring out what is going on and how I need to proceed if that's what I'm going to choose to do. So the team out in Winnipeg was awesome getting me all sorted out there. So as soon as I kind of figured out what I was dealing with, I made the jump back home, where I've got a great support system here with the University of British Columbia, where I played and studied at. So there's a handful of athletic therapists and other baseball professionals that I can work alongside, which really helped me in my rehab process. The I guess the biggest struggle kind of is you go from working in a team environment with guys next to you that are all kind of going to the for the same thing, and then coming back home and I'm kind of on my own trying to search through that rehab process by myself, and you're dealing with the ups and the downs of it exclusively just you. So those highs can get pretty high and those lows can get pretty low.
It's how hard is it to go from just full blown build up to the season to shutting everything down? Like I know that's just kind of a common thing with pitchers, but for you specifically, your season started late because you were struggling, not really struggling to get signed, but going through the whole process of getting signed to having to pitch in the IBL Intercountry Baseball League to now here you are getting ready to go for a 2026 season, hopefully starting out on the healthy page.
Yeah, I mean, I've always responded really well to a lengthy buildup when eyeing down a full season. So I took, I think it was 6 weeks off and started right in October, trying to get my arm moving and just giving myself as much time as possible to get to where I need to be. A lot of it is not fun. It's not the sexy part of training. Um, a lot of October, November, December is long toss, just playing catch, especially here in Vancouver. Like I'm dodging rain and throwing into cages. Um, but kind of as soon as that new year flips around and January, February comes, you can start eyeing getting off the mound, and that's when you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel with the season coming just a few months down the road.
So you keep moving along from there. Are you able to pitch a little bit with the University of British Columbia? Like you mentioned that you went to school there, you studied there, and then their facilities are top notch. It rivals a ton of Division Ones, especially in the SEC. So are you able to still like throw live to like some college kids who at least give you a little bit of something on field work?
Yeah. So there is, I believe it's five different teams that we run out of campus there. So there's two collegiate teams and three high school teams. So I mean they're always looking for extra reps for their hitters, and when they can have a professional arm come in and give them a chance to get some extra at bats, like they take that in a heartbeat. So that's been a really nice part of every offseason, really, not just this one. And then, like you said, the facilities are we're extremely lucky to have that facility in Vancouver where, like I said, we get a ton of rain. It other it wouldn't really be an option otherwise to be outside all off season in Vancouver. So yeah, it's a great place to be.
Well, we're not only talking about how hard it is to pitch in the off season. Obviously, that's a thing here in Winnipeg where it's just so cold. You have to be inside. Same with Vancouver, where you have to be inside as well because of the rain. But not only that, it's interesting when you're talking about how your work is very similar to almost everyone else's, where you start inside, it's in the gym, it's mostly just throwing at least somewhat into a cage. But then when are you guys actually able to go outside and finally start breaking through onto the turf?
Yeah, I guess that kind of starts in February, I would say. And still it's pretty spotty. We've had a nice I guess I should say mild winter. Sometimes we get hit with a few days of snow. I know that sounds soft for those of you in Winnipeg. Um, but yeah, we usually start getting some mild, clear days, and you can get on the field in February. March and April is kind of where it turns around, and you start getting a little bit of sunshine. Um, Yesterday we had highs of 17, 18 degrees here. So when you got a day like that, you can really kind of almost taste the season on the other side, and things start to get a little bit exciting.
And Logan wanted me to remind you, have you been keeping up with Griffin so far in your rehab process?
That's crazy. Yeah, I've been in touch with Griffin, especially the last couple of weeks here, making sure that when I report here that I can start working with him right away.
You're coming here in just a couple of weeks, and you're kind of coming in at an interesting time because that is right when our weather up here is starting to change. It's the snow's finally starting to melt. It looks like the grass is kind of finally peeking through the layers of ice and snow. When you look at kind of your prep to the season compared to the guys who have been in the affiliated ranks, this has been kind of a similar process, I imagine, for you. Is you're building up kind of on your own until you get to a certain point where you can finally report out to camp. What's that like when you're kind of doing almost everything on your own versus maybe some guys are able to go out with a whole crew of guys just because they're living together, like in Arizona and Florida, Texas, kind of all over the place?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the bigger challenges I've had to deal with. And I'm pretty lucky, like we talked about earlier, to have the college environment to train at. I've got a small group of other independent ball affiliate guys that I can train with in the off season as well that kind of just hold you accountable and really make it less boring. It's a lot more engaging to be working alongside somebody. It's a lot nicer to throw a baseball to a human being rather than a net. But you still have to put up with some of that stuff along the way.
UBC always pumps out professional pitchers. It seems like every year in the draft, they're sending at least three or four guys in the later rounds. But then there's a whole slew of you that turn into professionals who are not drafted. You're one of them. I mean, in total, how many years you've been with the University of British Columbia? How many professionals do you see kind of come out of that program year in and year out?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's at least two a year, primarily pitchers, but they've had some success getting some position guys signed as well. I know just last year we had a pitcher drafted and a position player signed as a free agent. And I want to say the year before we had two pitchers drafted. Um, I know we've got Garrett Hawkins, who's in the Padres organization. He's kind of eyeing down potentially making his big league debut this year, which would be really big for the school and the organization as a whole. So yeah, I mean it's a great environment to play at. They've got beautiful facilities. It's a great school. I can definitely see why. There's a handful of guys that always find their way up the ranks every year.
We'll keep moving this along. We'll start out with you joining the Goldeyes. So right before the month of July kind of rolls in, uh, this ball club is kind of like just stable footing so far, like right about 500. Haven't really made a jump or anything, haven't made a splash, but you joined the ball club. A little help thanks to Landon Barasa. It seems like, as always, with a lot of you guys, the extra pitchers he brings in. Um, that first outing against Sioux Falls, that was tough. 4 innings. Again, one of the best offenses in the league comes in and just kind of right away kind of shows you maybe a little bit of the difference between pitching in the Frontier League versus pitching in the American Association. But the buildup for you, again, it was kind of on that interesting side where you're pitching in the IBL, but it seemed like your innings and your reps was not the same competition level as when you showed up to Winnipeg. So kind of take us through what that was like going from just the struggles of trying to get signed to here you are and welcome to the show, kid. You just get knocked up for 6 runs on a day where it just seemed like, man, they were touching up everything.
Yeah, that wasn't that fun of a start, and it wasn't that fun of a week. I remember, I think it was, you might know better than me. Was it the Monarchs that I faced the start after? I also had a rough one.
Yeah, that was 5 1/3. Still,
You don't need to
we
talk about
won't go
that
go
one.
into
We
the
can.
craziness, but you did pitch all right against two of the best offenses back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a challenge like no other. Um, I I didn't pitch until June, I think it was. And my first few innings coming in the IBL, which, as you mentioned, it's not the same caliber as you would find in a American Association or even a Frontier League, partner league of independent baseball. Um, so yeah, I did my best to prepare with the tools I had at my disposal, but it's uh, dang near impossible to jump in and feel comfortable, have great success against such a good lineup in Sioux Falls. Um, yeah, I think in some way it could have been a if you want to flip it and find the silver lining to come into the league and kind of get my teeth kicked in is like, okay, now it's go time. We're here, we're signed, let's go. We got to play. We got to show them that we can do this.
Well, after that outing against Kansas City, where again you still pitched well, it goes into 4 consecutive quality starts, which three of them actually, hold on. I need to double math, check my math. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 quality starts in a row. And then you have 3 ultra quality starts, including the 9 innings of no hit ball against Sioux Falls. Again, we'll go into that in just a little bit. But as soon as you said, let's get up and go, and again, 4 quality starts in a row against Chicago, where it was a good lineup. Milwaukee wasn't their strongest of lineups, but 7 1/3 of 1 run ball, and then the 9 innings of hitless against Sioux Falls. So what kind of clicked for you when you made the start against Chicago, or really against Lincoln in Lincoln, and you were able to kind of hit your stride by that point?
Yeah, I think you kind of just you've got to just admit where you are, acknowledge the past that it's behind you, and realize that there's nothing you can do except continue to pitch and try your best to give the team a chance to win. I think I think the volume starting to my body starting to accustomize to that volume, to the game, to the competitiveness, um, and kind of seeing how good and different these hitters are than the ones that I've previously faced was certainly a transition that needed to happen to get me to that point there. Um, yeah, I mean, I just can't help but wonder if that looked a little differently had I been with you guys since the jump in May. Um, but yeah, just did my best to roll with the punches as they were coming.
We're talking with James Bradwell on the inside pitch. Keep us through that whole month of July and into August. So again, the team is struggling by that point, but you're still one of those bright spots in that starting rotation where Landon went down, and then you were able to pick up a lot of the weight where the pitching side was missing from him. It kind of just kept on coming around where it was just each guy. It seemed like every week or every series, it was just one thing after another. So take us into Sioux Falls that day. It's the final game of that series, and it was a 4 game set. So taking a win in that one would be a huge momentum boost in August. Outside chance looking in on a postseason push, but you never know what could happen. So take us through what happened on August the 7th that day. Of. 7th. 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 7th.
it wasn't really any different than any other start. I don't have anything uh, magical to tell you here. I think I think I was in a good headspace, and I went out and did my best to fill up the zone. I think I had a lot of weak contact early in the game, which led to some really short innings, keeping my pitch count really low. Um, and I had some really nice defensive plays behind me too. I think it was Jacob Robson in center made a sliding diving catch um, to kind of bail me out of a jam. Um, yeah, I mean it's one of those things that everything's moving so quickly. You're just trying not to think about things. You're just trying to get back out on that mound and then get the guys back in the dugout.
It's one of those games where it was also 0-0 until the 10th. So how does one, or actually it was up until the 11th. So how does one go out there and just keep firing bullets in a game where it just seemed like as soon as you got off the mound, it felt like you were already back on the mound pitching the next inning?
Yeah, obviously I like pitching with a lead as any pitcher does, but in some way I also very much appreciate just being able to get back out on the mound and kind of continue that flow. Um, as much as I want the hitters on the bench to score a bunch of runs, if I have to sit down on the bench for 20 or 30 minutes in like a 5 or 6 run inning, I get a little cold and I might kind of get thrown off. But when it's a pitcher's duel and the other guy's just throwing up zeros, it's um, in some respect it's kind of easier.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what kind of goes through a pitcher's mind, or at least in your mind, when you get back in the dugout and you kind of know that you have to keep your A game going because the other side isn't giving in either?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you realize that it's the nice part about baseball is it's not just you out there, right? Like I've got 7 guys behind me and one in front of me that I'm working with, and everybody else going up to the plate and doing their best to put something together. Um, in the place that we were as a team, um, I think we kind of just accepted where we kind of stood nearing the end of that season. So even though we weren't really winning a whole lot of games, it didn't feel like there was like, hey, this guy's messing up. It's this guy's fault. It's like, no, we're all here. We're all doing our best to win baseball games. We've all got each other's backs. So when you play on a team like that, it makes it really easy.
And so that kind of carries you into the 2026 season. Again, it's another strong pitching crew that Logan has brought in up to this point, and a few more added Canadians onto this roster as well. Take us through kind of what your thoughts are on the roster that you've seen up to this point.
Yeah, I like it. We've made 2 recent additions of guys that I know and have played with. We signed Ryo Koiyashi, who I played with in Quebec in 2024, and at that time he was my roommate and good friend. So I'm really excited to have him. I think he will be a very nice addition to the bullpen. He's a lefty, a higher slot. He'll sit like 88 to 90 and he's got a really good curveball. Throws a good split too. Um, and then the other one is Eli Saul, somebody that I had come across through my time at UBC. He didn't play at UBC, but he played in our high school program.
Hmm.
Um, and I've linked up with him a couple times this offseason, and he's a lot of fun to see throw. It's just absolute missiles that come out of his arm.
Yeah, we talked with Logan a little bit earlier last week about him, and again, it's kind of one of those other Canadian arms that was in the affiliated ranks, but it just seemed like was missing one or two things that could click into place. How much motivation do you guys like you guys have to just get back out on the mound, and especially in this sort of environment, you're pitching on home soil, you get a chance to make something happen in a season where you've got a lot of other young kids who are looking to prove themselves in pro ball.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I've pretty much thought about it every day of the off season. Um, when you get the chance to do something like that, um, the off-season days of showing up to the facility in the rain to throw and work your job, they get really long. When you're thinking of spending a nice day at Blue Cross Park and getting the chance to compete with a stadium full of fans. So
No, in the spirit of that, what is it? So we obviously have talked about your start days and what those things are like. What is it like to be a pitcher on a day where he's not pitching and you kind of get a chance to watch the game, still be engaged, but then actually look around and see what's going on in the stands?
that's like one of my favorite parts of being a starting pitcher. Yeah, it's so much fun, and to be able to like call that your job is something that I'm extremely grateful for. I mean, not to say that we just sit there and throw up a lawn chair and kick our feet up on our days off. You show up early, you get your work in, um, but every single nightcap you sit there and you watch 9 innings of baseball. It doesn't suck.
Who are you mostly sitting by and talking with when you're there?
Yeah, I mean, starters kind of just hang out with starters. I guess Landon Barassa, he was kind of my first connection with the Goldeyes. He's a great guy and somebody that I love to talk pitching with. It's always fun to sneak down to the bullpen and hang out with those guys and see what kind of shenanigans they're up to as well.
How many times you run on out there and just get a peek at what's going on behind the curtain?
It happens once or twice a game. It kind of depends on how the vibe is in the dugout. You know, if guys are pressing, if it's a tight game, I might want to be in there and uh, kind of giving them some support. But sometimes we're blowing them out of the water. Go check and see how the guys in the bullpen are doing.
Yeah, I was when I was talking with Landon earlier in the season, we were in Lincoln. It was the day before your start out there, and he said at the point where it was, I think it was the 8 game losing streak, and he was just like, "Is this the guy who's going to help snap this?" He said, "I don't think there is anyone else you'd want to see out on the mound because of the preparation that he takes to get into every start, the way he takes care of himself, not just on the physical side, but on the mental side as well." So take us through how kind of your process works on a start day, especially if it's a part of the season where things aren't going wrong. It comes into your hand to kind of end a tough stretch of games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it changes regardless of the streak, winning or losing. I think you do, at least for me, stick with the same thing every time. It starts the night before, making sure you get a good meal, get to sleep early. Um, and then from there on out, I'm just doing my best to not think about baseball until I put my cleats on and I step on the field. A lot of the preparation is coming those few days before. Uh, when you show up to the field, you're almost ready to go. I'm going through my warm up. I'm going through all my movement prep and stuff like that. Um, but if I'm being honest, I would say the majority of that is just to put my mind at ease and just to do something to kind of almost distract myself. Because I know when I get on the mound, like it is what it is. My preparation's going to shine. I've done this for how many years, and it's going to be what it is. There's going to be good days and bad days. Just get out there, do my best to make those good days really good, and try to make those bad days not suck as much as they could.
Mm-hmm. We'll finish this up with some kind of more fun, lighthearted questions, but we'll kind of start out with because this is a very young roster. I'm looking at the age of some of these guys, and a lot of 2001 kids, a lot of 2000s, maybe a few 02s sprinkled in every once in a while. But it's a younger roster, and that's kind of where the league is trending at this moment. But again, at the age of 27, not to say you're an old guy by any stretch of the imagination, but you've been around the block of professional baseball now for some years. So when some kid this year comes up and asks you how he can better prep himself for a game or how he can go into a more professional routine, kind of what is something that you're able to tell them that could help them kind of move themselves forward in their professional career?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think ultimately, like I would almost flip the question back onto the player. Um, if you hang out in a clubhouse, at a field, at a stadium, you're gonna see so many guys do vastly different things. You'll see some guys that will, sit in their locker until 10 minutes to game time. Uh, and you'll see other guys that are out there 3 hours early. And both of those guys could go 4 for 4 with two doubles. Um, so ultimately, you need to find something um, that puts you mentally in a good position to go out there and compete. And like I kind of explained earlier, for me, it's a lot of like there's often anxieties as a starting pitcher. Like you're going into the game starts on you. Um, so you're thinking about, hey, like what could go right, what could go wrong. You're kind of breaking down everything. But you kind of just got to set a routine so you can feel good about your preparation, so that when you step on the mound, it's you're just flowing. You're not being too cerebral or anything like that, because that's kind of when that game's going to break down, for me at least.
Hmm. What music does James Bradwell most likely listen to once he gets to the field versus when he's away from the field?
Yeah, so this is actually a great question. Um, so my music taste in general is very vast. I like hip hop, rap, classic rock, I guess like pop and alternative stuff like that.
Hmm.
But for the last 3 years, I think it is, on game days, I only listen to the Beatles
Why is that?
because, good question. I'm trying to remember now. This was years ago. I was I went down to Las Vegas with my girlfriend. We saw a Beatles Cirque du Soleil show. That kind of got me back into the Beatles, and I grew up with my dad. My dad playing the Beatles in the car, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess that music, I'm associating it with my childhood. There's a sense of comfort for me. So I started doing it, and I started pitching really well. And then
Hmm.
I did it the next time, and I pitched well, and I kept doing it. And
Hmm.
uh, and now it's kind of just a part of my routine. So like it's completely silly,
Hmm.
but if I was to step on the mound and not do that, I would probably feel a little bit empty, a little bit lost.
So are you saying that you are a little bit of a Beatlemania head
On game days, yeah, I guess
on game
so.
days? What era are you mostly listening to? Are we going like early 60s or are we going to like their kind of weirdo eras of the 70s?
I like it all. I
You
like
like
it
it all?
all. Yeah.
Is there like an album that you kind of listen to a little bit more than another one?
I would say there's a song. So when I go to get changed and cleat up and everything, get ready to take the field, I always play Hey Jude.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Love it.
So that's been a big part of my routine.
Anything to kind of go with the Ted Lasso theme on that one?
I haven't watched the
You
show.
haven't Oh, there's an episode where they specifically talk about Hey Jude. I think it's like in their second or third season. It's a definite watch. When I was traveling to my job in 2023 in the Perfect Game League, we stopped at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they had a whole like section below everything. It was Beatles related, and it was a whole like kind of like a documentary about their growing up through the eras of them going to like starting out in the 60s and being on the Ed Sullivan show. But the farewell era is what kind of stuck in my head the most, and it was Get Back. So
Yeah.
that's been mostly kind of swimming around my head since then. But I think that was probably the song that if I were to turn to a Beatles song, it would be Get Back.
Yeah.
So really, it's the Beatles that gets you going, or at least
Well,
on a start day. On a start day.
I've like I played around with it, and I mean the default would be to think like, yeah, you want something like full of energy, you want something aggressive, something to pump you up. And I've tried that, and I feel like I almost need to lean into the other side of something that like kind of calms me down, lets me get my work done, kind of like I said earlier, like you've done all the preparation. Like you don't need
Mhm.
to hype yourself up. Like you've done this before. Just go get on the mound and compete. And if anything, I need to make sure that I can stay level-headed and calm rather than get too high and blow a fuse.
Mhm. Final one we're going to wrap this up with. So when you go out on an off day and you have, so it's a Monday off day, Sunday, final game of the series, we're still at home, don't have to travel anywhere. Where are we most likely to see you on Monday?
He's gonna listen to this, so I'll say Warren Gobert's house.
Okay.
So he's a family friend
Gotcha.
who I grew close with last season. And him and his wife Wendy have been awesome. They've invited me over for dinners and all that stuff. So he's kind of my guy when I got an off day in Winnipeg.
All right. What food are you getting fed there? Are you getting some Winnipeg staples or is it kind of just a little bit of a hodgepodge, almost everything?
They treat me well, you know. I look forward to some good steaks this next season.
Hmm.
But yeah, just a little bit of everything. Just more so to have some interaction outside of baseball, you know. You
Yeah.
spend so much time in the clubhouse talking to your teammates, talking to your coaches, managers, all that stuff to kind of take a step back and you know, talk to a normal human being that isn't immersed in baseball every single
Yeah.
day of their life can be a little bit refreshing on an off day.
I could understand that. James Bradwell, thank you for stopping on by. We'll see you coming up soon. Season rolls right around the corner.
Yes, sir. I'm excited.